What's up, Andre? Hey, it's Gabe. Alright, let's just get into it. I think the first one I have queued up is the color light graphic object. So, very similar to the just color one, but with all the light parameters. Alright, here's the spotlight. Yeah, you can see it's only going on the one face. Then you have your ambient stuff. The directional lights kind of making it bright. Sorry if it's not bright enough, but there's green. So yeah, within that, let's go to that color light. Basically, the only thing you really have to do that's different for this one is the material. So you gotta have a set material function. In addition, so it's not set world in color anymore. And then when you render it, you just have to send the world and the material, and obviously use the correct shader with it. So yeah, the shader color, light texture, I don't know what that should be like too, but I think it's covered by this friend class thing. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have for that one. Works like a charm. You've seen the other one, I'll just show you the texture, because the other one I'll go over. Actually, whatever, who cares? YOLO. Alright, let's see. And then gotta change this guy. Oops. Alright. I didn't tell you to do that. Alright. Let's see, hopefully. Oh, I gotta do it in the .h. Just 1 second, bear with me. Alright. Did it work? Did it work? Did it work? Did it work? Should. Looks like it's good. So far, so good. No. JK. Alright, sorry, that should just be something I have to comment or uncomment. Set material, color, texture. Oh, the textures. Doi. Got them. Alright, that should be good. I feel like you lecturing a class sometimes. You should forget one thing, you know? Not your fault. Alright, so here it is in all its glory. Thank you very much for helping me with this. So kind of same thing as the texture. I guess I haven't showed you that yet, but obviously I had to have gotten that working first. And I mean, you helped me with it a lot, so I'm sure you know a lot of it. But yeah, I got my input layout correct, and it correctly matches the standard vertices that we have, right? And we got the 16 and 32 because it has that 2 extra because of the 16 byte alignment that's inherent in the standard vertices, and then uses the texture light shader that I made, which essentially was just adding this texture and sampler register, and then correctly positioning them in the vertex shader, and then obviously setting it, which was different than the light, and then adding it to the light at the end. Alright, so the other one, let's see what, oh, it's just texture. Oh wait, so I should do that. Worlds perspective takes after H. Texture lights. Count that. Count this guy. Alright, I think that'll work. Lord willing. Man, I don't know why my computer's being so slow. workout today, probably. Alrighty, yeah, so here's the normal one. Then I have my two textures. I just use the HM test because that's the only thing I can remember off the top of my head. Yeah, so the object just basically kicks all its stuff down to the shader itself, or the shader CPP file that we created, right? So I send it to world. Well, I call the shader to send it the world to the vertex shader, and then I call this set to context, which essentially just calls the shaders, set textures, and resource sampler, sends it the texture, then it sets the texture in a resource sampler, and then all that needs to be done within this is to call render, set this to context, and the camera matrices, obviously, because they're getting updated, and render it. And then, yeah, so that was the first three. The next one I did not get done. I get the color and light, but the textures, sending them as arrays, like, was just throwing me off, so I didn't quite get that part. But for the further work, I think I get how to do it. So obviously you would need like an array of the shaders, right? But you don't know how big or anything they are, so like you would have to do like size of and then like add potentially, and then for like, actually no, I take that back. This was my idea that I came up with. I say you make them all have the material and world data stuff that you send like in render, so that like when you're calling render within the graphics object file or the graphics object class, right, these are all different. You don't necessarily know which one is how to render them all. So if you're going for like a loop, I think the best way to do it would just be to send it for all of them, right, and just have the methods for each of the different shaders all be consistent, right? So they all take the same, they all have the same signature. And then if you're not using that, the texture that like requires, you know, ambient, diffuse, and specular, right? Like the, you know, just normal color one, right? You just end up sending the world and it doesn't do anything with the other ones. I think that's a huge waste of space, but it also seems a lot easier than the other alternative, right? And then you just do the, you would have the set to context for each of the different ones. So this one has this set texture to context, right? But if you were to just modify the texture class or the shader classes themselves and just have them all have set to context as there's like the function name, and then the signatures just be blank, you could then or actually, yeah, and send it a texture too, I guess, and just have that be the same. And then within, like, if it has a texture, great, then send it. But if it doesn't, right, like with the color, you have the texture, don't do anything, just set it to context, right? So like, it'd just be, when you call set to context, literally just do this part, right, without having to do all the other stuff with the texture, right, and like set the sampler and whatnot. I think that would be the best way of doing it without having to modify a bunch of shit. Pardon my French. And I think that's about it. I get the overall what the meshes do. Like I can do the color one, right, on the per mesh basis, but to me the thing that was screwing me up was the C++ like arrays and stuff like that. I think I can do color light too. I have not attempted it, but yeah, that's it for me. I'm signing off. Thank you very much for the help. I'll see you.